Hi, my name is Anna, and today I want to talk about balance. Balance can mean a lot of things for a lot of different people, and I've been trying to learn what balance means for me and what healthy balance is throughout life. So for me, balance is made up of 5 different areas or concepts. That would be physical, mental, relational, spiritual, and emotional. So for the physical aspect of balance within yourself and being healthy, I would say that involves all of the physical aspects of your body. So eating healthy, sleeping, having movement, like getting up and moving around, general self-care, so cleanliness and taking care of yourself in the bare necessities in that regard, as well as your portrayal of yourself. A lot of people focus on the physical aspect of balance as like the only thing that is important, and it is a big part because the body that you're in. Hi, baby girl. Come here. Okay, bye. The physical aspect is important because the body that you're in is how you are involved in this world. And if the physical aspect of your body is not taken care of, you'll go into disrepair, your health will go down, and you won't be here anymore. So eating healthy is really important. Eating nutritious food. And it's not about weight. It's not about what some trend is going on right now. It's about eating like whole, filling, natural foods. Gluten is fine to eat if that's okay with you. Eating no gluten foods is fine if that's okay with you. Carbohydrates are good. There are healthy carbohydrates. There are like carbohydrates that don't do anything for you. Fruit has so many vitamins in it. Different proteins and meats. Plant proteins and animal proteins have things that are important for our bodies. Whether or not you choose to eat one isn't important. It's important to eat food. It's important to eat filling meals. It's important not to starve yourself. It's important to make sure that you're eating foods that make you feel good. And I don't mean like I love ice cream, so I'm just gonna only eat ice cream because that makes me feel good. I mean foods that can be nourishing fuel for your body. That's important. Fitness and mobility are also important. There is a phrase or a saying, or like when you don't live in a house, it becomes dilapidated, it becomes destitute. And that seems counterintuitive. You know, a family living in a house, you would think that with all the dings and bangs that are going to happen on the wall, that would cause more stress on the house, when really the family is there checking in on the house constantly to maintain it. Mobility is a similar aspect. Checking in with yourself, checking in with your body, and maintaining it. Fitness doesn't mean that you have to have an intense workout routine. Mobility doesn't mean that you don't have disability issues or problems with moving parts of your body. It just means that you are actively pushing yourself and doing something where you move once at least every day. Your joints need to move so that they can stay lubricated. There are chemical reactions in the brain that occur when you use your muscles and when you exert strength or do an activity for a period of time. Our body wants to support us. So your heart, your liver, your lungs, they need to gain strength. They need to be exercised regularly so that they can maintain themselves and check in with themselves consistently. Another aspect of physical care is cleanliness. And I'm going to lump self-care into this as well, because you need to have a basic level of cleanliness so that your body doesn't fall into disrepair. So, dental hygiene, genital hygiene, hands, washing your hands, washing your body, skin hygiene, hair hygiene. All of these things are important so that bacteria and illness doesn't settle into the body. Sometimes that'll happen inevitably anyways. But physical well-being is about checking in with the house of yourself and maintaining the structure of who you are on the outside. It's important to do the basic bare needs necessities with cleanliness, but it's also just as important to do self-care that isn't required or necessary to survive. Having fun with physical care can turn something that seems like a laundry list of things to do into something that makes you feel good and brings happiness and fulfillment into your life when you're checking in with yourself. It's not fair to expect other people to check in with you for you. So it's not fair to expect someone else to maintain your house. You need to take care of yourself. And that doesn't mean that your friends and family and your loved ones don't come in and check in on you and help you, but it's not anyone else's job to do that primarily for you. So now I want to move on to the mental aspect of what I think balance is. So mental health is very similar to the physical aspect, in which you're checking in with yourself on the inside. It can be a little bit more difficult to notice when your mental health is falling into disrepair because you're not physically limited by it. So it's not like a broken arm, or it's not like stinky pits, armpits, or a stinky body. It's not as easily identifiable unless you check in with yourself, or unless you have friends that can point out, hey, are you okay? You're acting a little bit differently. Mental health is extremely important to check in with yourself constantly, every day or once a week, really as often as you need at any given time, because your needs, your mental health needs, will fluctuate throughout your life. Checking in with yourself, checking in with, why do I just want to sleep all day? Why am I not eating very much right now? Why don't I want to talk to anyone? Why do I feel so sad when certain things happen or when I hear certain words? Checking in with yourself and acknowledging the things that are going on inside of you helps bring peace, helps bring closure to a lot of thoughts that kind of go unchecked in the back of your mind. You are always going to be healing at different stages of your life. And that doesn't even mean that you went through a intensely traumatic experience. You are always evolving. You're always going to be a different person. The person that you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago is not the same person that you are now. And it doesn't mean that you don't still have similarities or you don't still like the same things, but you always are growing and learning more information and changing your understanding of how you want to present yourself in the world and the responses that you get by being alive, because you can't control others or what they say to you or how they respond to you. So you're always healing. You're always needing to check in with your mental health and explore that area. And I think that's important for balance. Having a therapist that you can talk to can be helpful. Having a mentor, an older person in your life that you trust and feel safe with to talk to, that can be helpful. Having a journal where you don't have to worry about someone else's thoughts, that can be helpful, just to get your thoughts and your stream of consciousness down in one go, and then to reanalyze what it is that you've just written. That can be really helpful. Recreational activities, in terms of things that make you feel happy when you do them. I always say art because I enjoy doing art as a recreational activity. So any form of art, dancing, you can do something physical in terms of playing sports or doing activities that involve other people and getting your body moving. All of these things are interconnected, and sometimes doing a physical activity can be beneficial to your mental health. So I think mental health is equally as important as taking care of your physical body in terms of healthy balance. The next thing that I think is important for healthy balance is your relational aspect of life. How you relate with others, your friends, your family, acquaintances, coworkers, strangers. That's all important, and it's none of these things that I'm talking about are any more or less important than the other. They all are interconnected and play a big role in affecting each other. So when your mental health is not in the place that it should be to be healthy for you, your relations with others can be affected by that. And your relations with other people can also affect your mental health. And we want to balance these things and create a space for ourselves that is going to elicit growth, going to be positive for us, and challenging for us. Doing something that is challenging doesn't mean that you're doing something that you don't like to do. Sometimes you don't like what you're doing when you're being challenged, but if you're specifically looking out something that you don't like because it's going to challenge you, that's not really what I mean. when you're being challenged, sometimes that's frustrating. And that's more of what I'm describing with not enjoying the experience of being challenged. When you're doing something that's challenging, it should be something that's interesting to you as a baseline, and then you can grow within that area of expertise. Your relations with other people shouldn't make you feel invalidated. They shouldn't make you feel worthless or unloved. It's important to be able to communicate to people in a positive and respectful way. And when you need to take a moment to assess your mental health situation in order to have positive relations, that's good. You can't take something back. You can't take back something that you've said. You can't take back something that you've done. You can try and repair your relations, but it's so much harder to try and repair something or a situation or something that you've said than it is to check in with yourself first. Be there for yourself first, and then open up to having positive relations with other people. If you're not in a good space, you don't have to lash out at somebody else. You can just be like, I need to take some time for myself. Bye. You know, like, you don't have to be around people that you don't enjoy being around. If you're forced to be around somebody, you can tell them you're not having a good day, you don't want to talk about it, and that you need a little bit of space. And then you can be in that same environment. You've communicated that you're not open, you're not emotionally available for that person, and at the same time, if they don't respect your boundaries, you've already made what your boundaries are clear to them. So then them not respecting your boundaries is something that you have to deal with in the moment. So all of these things are interconnected, and I'm sorry I keep saying this, but mental health, relations, all of these things are so important and connected to each other. So you might need to talk to your manager about taking a break for a moment because you're not in a good headspace. It's okay to communicate to people. It's okay to have a bad day, but your relations with others are extremely important to your everyday life. And it's not fair to take your mental health issues out on other people because it's so much harder to repair that situation after it's occurred. So the next thing I want to talk about is spirituality and how it comes into balance with the rest of your life. This does not mean that you have to be part of an organized religion or dogma. You do not have to be physically involved with any church or rituals with others. When I'm talking about spirituality, I'm talking about your connection with your life and whether or not it is meaningful to you and gives you deep satisfaction. You don't have to worship things if you don't want to. I'm not trying to prescribe you to a religion because it's important for your life. With spirituality, I'm talking about checking in with... Come here. Hey. When I'm talking about spirituality, I'm talking about checking in with what your place is in the world, what your place is in the universe. Checking in with an aspect of your mental health. If you do have a religion that you're a part of, if you do worship, you will notice that when your mental health is not in a happy space, or maybe when your life isn't in a good spot for you, you might fall away from your religion. Some people become even more close to their spiritual aspects, and that's important. Checking in with yourself, having something that is grounding for you, so that you don't feel so lost, out of control, up in the air, you know? Spirituality can be a religion. Spirituality can be appreciation for the life that you live, the fact that you exist. Spirituality can be watching a butterfly, looking at the plants and animals around you, feeling connected to people and the earth and the space in which you exist is what I'm referring to as spirituality. When your spirituality isn't taken care of, when you don't feel important, when you don't know where you're supposed to be in the world, all of these things can affect your mental health or your physical health or your relations with other people. You don't have to live alone. You don't have to go through the situations that you're dealing with alone. You can process things by yourself if that's what is healthy for you. But you are not unloved. There are people that want you around. There are people that enjoy your company. You do have a space here. You have a reason for being. You're wanted. And that's what I'm talking about with spirituality, in terms of connecting with yourself, feeling valuable, knowing that you're worthy, doing daily devotionals, waking up and doing yoga, stretching, looking at the moon and the stars, being mindful. All of these things are helpful for your spirituality. Doing things in a ritual doesn't mean that you have to be a part of a religion. Making yourself a cup of tea can be a ritual. Making yourself a cup of coffee can be a ritual. Playing in your garden, tending to your plants, tending to your animals can be a ritual. Getting outside of yourself and understanding that you have a reason for being. You don't have to do anything to be important. But there are others who love you. Check in with yourself. The last thing that I think that's important for balance is your emotional state. I know that your emotional state might sound like it's the exact same as your mental health, but that's not true. That's not necessarily the case. You could have mental health issues outside of your emotional state, and you could have very low mental health issues and then have a highly emotional circumstance happen to you. So for instance, say you don't have anxiety or depression or any other bipolarism or any other issue that would be considered a mental health aspect of yourself. Let's say you're in a good space right now. And then something traumatic happens to you. A loved one dies, family member, an animal, a friend. That would be in a highly emotional situation that you're in when you didn't have any previous mental health issues. So I'm talking about your emotional state. That's true for extreme highs. That's also true for extreme lows. Checking in with your emotional state is really important. You can do that multiple times a day, constantly. Understanding, am I feeling annoyed right now? Am I feeling happy right now? Am I feeling sad, depressed? Am I feeling unwanted? Am I feeling loved? All of these things are important to check in with yourself, to understand the perspective or the lens that you're looking out of for the day, the mood that you're in at that point. How the world is presenting itself to you is based on the way that you are looking at the world. And your emotional state has a lot to do with the way that you respond to people in your relations, the way that you deal with your mental health, the way that you deal with your physical health, and also how you would deal with your spiritual health. Checking in with your emotions does not make you weak. Having emotions doesn't make you weak or not strong or not a good person. Emotions are normal and healthy, and having emotional responses to different stimulus is healthy. If you cry, there's a reason. If you're angry, there's a reason. If you're happy, there's a reason. And identifying that, identifying and acknowledging why you had an emotional response can be beneficial to all of the other aspects of balance that I've previously mentioned. You're never going to be 100% all of the time. You can think about it kind of like a spider web. And we can say that 0 is in the middle and 5 is on the outside. And we've talked about 5 different aspects of mental health. Some days, some of your star points on the 5 points of balance that I've discussed will be extended. So one will be at 5, one will be at 4, one will be at 3, one will be at 4, etc. around your star. Some days, one of them will be really low. So maybe your physical health will be really low on one day. It'll be a 1, and then your mental health will be a 5. So you feel great, but your body ain't feeling great. It's always going to be fluctuating, going out and in on the center of this diagram that I've kind of described. The goal of life is not to be perfect. We're supposed to try and live in balance and be healthy and happy with ourselves. You won't be happy all the time, but we don't want to damage our relations. We don't want to damage our body or our mental health, or shouldn't be the end of your life or the end of your healthy existence. I'm sure that there are many more aspects or words to describe having a healthy life, living in balance. I'm curious to hear other people's perspectives on what balance is for them. And I'm curious to see how my definitions or perspective on balance change through my development and existence in this life. I hope this made someone feel better. I hope that it shows you areas that you can work on yourself, or areas that you're doing great at. I love you. I hope you have a good day.